Welcome to the Thursday meeting, October 21st, 2021, for the discussion of the parcel on North Stark Highway, tax map 401, lot 96. Want to do the pledge?
To you, you're the
Pledge
chairman.
allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Very well. All right. We tabled this topic at our Monday meeting, and we were deadlocked 2-2 with one abstention. Vice Chairman Meany wanted a little bit of time to review some of the information, and I take it you have some.
Yes.
Have done. If you'd like to speak, you can go ahead, or we can try and pull another vote. Like I said, we got Selectman Osborne on
vote,
the.
and then we'll put it on the record for discussion after it's
Okay.
seconded.
Okay. All right.
Is there a public comment?
There is not.
Not at all.
There is not.
The reason I asked if my name was brought up in discussion by Selectman Van, and I just wanted a chance to respond to the comment.
Regarding the trails from last week, or last meeting?
Well, it's up to the board. I had thought we were not going to have it, but it's up to the board.
My impression was we weren't gonna have anything.
Okay.
Doesn't make a difference to me either way. I mean, these folks did come here, so
Okay. All right, we can have that. It's fine.
let's make it brief though.
Okay. Yep. Tom?
I just wanted to say that certainly I am interested in trails being laid out throughout the public lands, but I don't believe that should be a litmus test for making this kind of a decision, because there's so much more to conservation land than the trails. You know, the fact that it was brought up, habitat and watershed, but also even today in the Concord Monitor, just a couple of sentences here: forest conversion and fragmentation continue at a rapid pace. Loss of forested areas possess a growing threat to the integrity of the nation's natural resources. Experts predict that at the current rate, New England will lose 1.2 million acres of forest by 2060, along with 19% of its climate change fighting carbon storage capacity. We hear about climate change all the time, and we think of it in terms of keeping the carbon out of the atmosphere through carbon taxes and changing your fuel mileage on vehicles. But the other side of it is that forestry, whether it's in New Hampshire or whether it's in South America, helps remove the carbon from the atmosphere, so it's another factor. So, yes, I'm interested in trails, but that should not be a litmus test for a project such as this.
Thank you for opening it to public comment. I personally greatly appreciate
Mm-hmm.
that, and it speaks very well of you. My name is Wendy Fulton. I've lived in town since 1999, so 22 years. I'm a mother to 4 girls. I'm also a scientist. I'm a geologist. My last name might sound a little familiar. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm Andy's wife. He's been involved with Conservation Commission since 2001, when I was pregnant with our first daughter, who's now 19. I have never once, ever, come to speak to you on any of the land dealings that Conservation Commission has done. But I come tonight because I care. I care about the future of our town and the legacy that we are creating for our children. I want my children to feel comfortable living in Ware. I want them to want to live here when they grow up. And keeping it green is a big part of that for our family. It's been a long time now, and I've watched a lot of dealings with Conservation Commission. I've seen them purchase small parcels, and I've seen them purchase large parcels. And it's gone both ways. So this is an 85 parcel acre of land. We all know that, right? We all know it has really prime conservation potential. Do you know that it provides habitat to many different wildlife species, including otter, moose, bear, deer, mink, bobcat, along with the very mundane rabbits and turkey and a lot of other species as well? Do you know that there's a very well-developed and very active beaver pond on the parcel? Do you know that Chipmunk Falls is just above it? Most importantly, this parcel connects to other protected lands, which is what you were speaking to. The connectivity to other conserved lands is crucial to the welfare of larger animals. A moose can't live on a 4-acre piece of land. They just need a lot of space. There is conservation land up by Craney Hill, down by Chipmunk Falls, and across the road by the high school, the Eastman project. And I don't know the names of all the pieces. I don't know the sizes of all the pieces. I've just watched Conservation Commission through the years being able to purchase small pieces with the ultimate goal of connecting them together. This parcel is critical to that connection. This is the missing piece. And Conservation Commission has been working to procure it for over 10 years now. It's a pretty amazing, awesome opportunity that this town has. And you guys have the option, you have the chance to make that a reality and put your mark on the town with that. And so because I was so concerned and so upset about this, because I know the value of the connection, because I am a geologist and I've studied this in college, I did a thing. I did a thing I've never once done before in my life. My kids were so concerned and so upset, they said, we need to do something. And I said, oh, that's not my way. And they said, no, Mom, we need to do something. And so one of my kids helped me create a petition. And we posted it at about 1:30 today. This is what the petition said.
Thank you.
Talk about strong arm.
And it's asking people to think about, should this land be conserved? Is the value of the land conservable? Do we want to protect this for the future? And at the start of meeting, right before the meeting started, my daughter texted me, my 15-year-old Emily, and she said that 104 people signed it. And that was in about 5.5 hours. I didn't have a lot of time to get a lot of signatures. I couldn't go door to door because we just thought of it today. And I think it's a pretty remarkable thing that we could do this online petition at a group called change.org, and in such a short amount of time, we could get that. And so I tried hard to reach out to a small portion of the Ware residents in the fastest way I know, and I posted it on Facebook, which is not my thing. I don't even remember posting on Facebook before because I am not a Facebook person. But I did that because I care. And it was totally out of my comfort zone. My daughter had to hold my hand the entire time because I'm not a techno person. But we posted it, we linked it to the petition, and we got signatures. I just want you to consider what the people of this town are asking, what they want. And interestingly, there were some comments. I wasn't really expecting that because I don't know how these things work. And so I found those kind of interesting. One person, Terry Hammond, said, I can't imagine protected species don't live on that land, especially since it has a wetland. Let's keep that parcel conserved. Roy von Gemmert Jr. said, I want land conserved for motorized recreation, which does happen on some town conservation lands. Charlene Provencher said, I live across the road from this piece of land, and I have no interest in it being developed for more houses. Preserving the land for the wildlife is what should be done. This road is busy enough. It doesn't need any more development. Similarly, Laurel Noss also said, "I live across the road and have seen all kinds of critters in the area. Perfect place for wildlife." But then someone named Dr. Michelle Goldsmith made a comment. And my daughter looked her up and found that she is actually a very highly educated, very well thought of scientist. And I believe she works at SNHU, but I could be mistaken. That's just what my daughter found, and has had a very diverse career in environmentalism. And she said, "I am a wildlife biologist and conservationist. Corridors are critical to connect fragmented habitats. This 85-acre parcel is key in that endeavor. Please vote to have this land purchased by the Conservation Commission." I just ask that all of you carefully consider what the preservation of this land means to animals in this town and in the greater of New Hampshire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill?
Hi, Bill Bolton. I'm on the Conservation Commission, but I'm going to talk as a citizen as well. First thing I wanted to do was bring in an article that I got in the mail from the Historical Society this past month, and the president's letter just gave a history of the town. Started out back in the 1700s and how it developed, how it grew, blah, blah, blah. And in 1970, it realized that it was growing at too rapid a rate, and I think there was, I think it said 50 citizens got together in a group, and then they worked with the planning board, and basically that group has boiled down to the Conservation Commission. I think that's about the only thing left that is doing it. But at that time, it was to pick out tracts of land that they were good for this or good for that, and development was part of it. But I think that this isn't something that's new. This is a very old idea that a lot of townspeople back as in the 1970s realized that they need to do something, and I would certainly like to persuade you folks to do that. To look at this piece. But one other thing I really did want to talk about, and I'm very well versed in it, was the use of the land. And I believe that someone said there wasn't enough use of it for the people. And I didn't watch the movie. I didn't watch the not movie, the meeting. But
Meeting.
we don't have that type of TV. But anyway. I've been in the snowmobile club since 1980s, and we've grown the trail system from just East Ware and up over Mount William to now about 100 miles of trail. It does Ware, Dunbarton, Hopkinton, Henniker, and Hillsborough. And we use a lot of conservation land. We've had our struggles, but we have finally knocked that chip off our shoulder, and we have worked with the Conservation Commission, and the reason I don't know a lot about this piece of land is I've opted to stay away and let the Snowmobile Club and Conservation Commission do their thing. But they have been beyond gracious about letting people use the land. You just got to ask. Recently, we've got a new piece. Because of development, we had to change it drastically. And not only were they good about letting the club use it, but they made them do some things that at first were, but what it really was longevity. And doing it so that 20 years from now it's there, or when it's developed beside it, folks that didn't know this trail were there should have. If they had looked, there's either an easement or some very strong language. And it was very easy to do. we just had to rethink the way we do things. It was the old days of just going chainsawing your way through somebody's land is over. But I do want to say that the commission, without my vote being part of it, has been very gracious on allowing trail use. The other thing that in the past 4 or 5 years, however long I've been on it, and the reason I got on it, because I had the opinion that they weren't letting us use it. And the last few, I guess they're easements, but that the PLC is in charge of, and they had very strong wording, no motorized vehicles. And one of my goals was to get that taken out of it, and it's still in there, but snowmobiles are an exemption, and I think that was a pretty big deal. And I got it because I asked. The hiking trail thing, I can probably give you the names of the folks that jumped on your back about they don't let us do anything, they don't have anything open. I got the same deal. If you want to see someone turn tail, say, why don't you come get involved? And I did that with them. The opportunity is there, but you got to do it. The Conservation Commission spent quite a lot of money and several meetings, meeting with a professional group and lay out hiking trails, non-motorized trails, both in South Ware and up in North Ware Village. And they were nice little short trails, and well, how much to do it? Well, you could almost build a road for less money. So you can't expect, no one should expect the town to make those expenses to build these hike trails. But if these users would just get together, and they could get together with a snowmobile club and work with them, there's already oodles of miles of trail that are there and available. And they just have to take the next step and get permission to go through the private parts. The conservation in the town would allow hiking, and if you go out there in the winter, the horses, dogs, people, cross-country skiers, they're a big user group. So, and a lot of that land is conservation land. But somebody's got to get involved. If you want to run bicycles, well, a bicycle group ought to get together and work with the commission. And they're going to have to work with private landowners as well. And the commission, it's not their job to do that. I don't think there's any piece of land that's in conservation that really would make an adequate trail that would keep you happy for more than a couple of hours without using some private land around it. But one point I wanted to make was they have been very, very outgoing, gracious, great to deal with, and me as a snowmobile club member, we use a lot of Ware property, whether it's, however it's governed. And once we realized that it would make our lives a lot easier just to deal with them before we came and asked the selectmen to use it, they added some very positive things to it. And I just hope, if other user groups want to use it, they should. But they should get together and expect to have to do the chasing for the funding from the state, and there's a lot to it, an awful lot to it. It isn't going to be 5 or 6 people aren't going to manage trails, and things that people don't realize. A trail like that, a maximum of 3 years without maintenance, it's over. It's grown in, it's done, it's washed out. It's a lot of work. It's a real commitment. It takes a lot of live bodies to make that work. So if other user groups want to be involved, get involved. don't sit back and argue. Don't sit back and cry that it isn't sitting there for me. And that,
Hey, Bill, before you sit down, I think at one time I talked to you about, you had a map that showed a lot of the trails in
Yep.
town, and I was wondering if you could,
yeah,
get,
Naomi can do that. We have a map, we have a program that overlaid the map on the town map. So
Yeah.
it's very accurate about whose land it is, where
Yeah.
it goes.
Where it goes.
yeah, so-
And she can do the other towns even.
yeah. Can you do that for me, Naomi? When you have a minute?
Yeah. But,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
And maybe, we could do that with the WARE map and the overlay and post it somewhere in the building.
Good evening again, guys. Andy Fulton, Chair of the Conservation Commission. We tried to provide information to address questions from the board.
Thank you.
I prepared this Tuesday night, trying to, think about what it takes to evaluate a property when the professionals aren't available and the timeline is too short. And I also spoke in the interim since Monday night with an appraiser. His comment, Andy, you've done about all you can do in presenting this to you guys. Just a quick question, could y'all let me know whether you received that? Because I seem to be having trouble getting information to the board.
I received both your emails.
You got both of them, great, wow.
Yep.
I definitely received this one.
I got both of
Right.
them.
The problem is we can't respond because then it cues a meeting. If we start responding as a board,
Right, I understand,
Right.
even with, got it?
we could have probably done that, and we apologize.
Well, thank you, and I hope to do the same if you were to ask or present me with information. And I do respect that we're not to engage in public discourse over private means.
Right.
And we want to be in the open about it all. So I'm glad you did receive it. I hope that it explains itself pretty well, or my intro explains it. For the audience, what I've presented to the selectmen is a table of parcels in town that have either, I'll start from the top, either listed currently as vacant real estate, that's undeveloped lots greater than about 25 acres, 20 acres or so. I've also listed, and there are 3 lots that I found currently on the multiple listing system, MLS, that are in acreage, 20.4 acres, 95 acres, 57 acres. Then I've also listed 5 lots that have sold in the last couple years of large size in Ware. 1 from 2019, 2 from 2020, and 2 from 2021. And those ranged in size from 20 acres to 37 acres. And then I've also provided information for this lot 40196 in North Ware, that's at question tonight, as well as the recently purchased lot 41080, or map 410 lot 80, down on Poor Farm Road. And then, that's one in cooperation with the Board of Selectmen we purchased this year. And we purchased 20 acres at $4,000 an acre. And that's to add to the Poor Farm Town Forest. What we are looking at now at 487 North Stark Highway, again lot 96, is 85 acres at $3,521 an acre. So, a significantly less per acre price on that one. And in looking at all the listed land and the recently sold land, there's one lot that stands out as a close comparison. And I, mind you, I'm no real estate expert, but this is publicly available information through the internet.
From reliable sources, as best I could tell, sold properties are prices listed by Zillow, which even I have heard about. But on Perkins Pond Road, map 410, lot 53, just this summer, 37 acres sold for $405,000, over $10,000 an acre, about 3 times per acre price as what we are trying to purchase currently. And that lot sold for a 7-lot subdivision that's underway, planning stages, and had about 2,100 feet of frontage on paved roads in town, Mountain Road and Perkins Pond Road. So a very closely comparable piece of property, although less than half the size, sold for $105,000 more than what's being asked for this parcel in North Ware. The currently listed lands are not nearly the quality of land that this parcel that we are trying to buy is. Either on Class 6 roads, have limited access, require roads for development, require maintenance of private road to get to it. And these lots are 20 acres, 95 acres, 57 acres. They're $300,000 asking price, $375,000 asking price, $415,000 asking price for less strategically placed, less valuable either in its conservation attributes or its development attributes for that matter than the lot in question. So I'm trying as strongly as I can, and not to twist arms, but to provide information, and not to spoon feed, but to inform or, you know, have an honest discourse about what the options are here. And I, again, make the contention that purchasing 85 acres for $300,000 is a very reasonable, in fact, downright bargain type sale. So that's unfortunately the best I can come up with tonight. I think just about anybody else with a little bit of interest and savvy could find the same thing. And they're, you know, slice and dice, a lot of different ways you can look at it, this versus that and ratio. But I think the bottom line is pretty obvious, or fairly evident that this is a very financially reasonable sale. And to echo some of the things Bill and Tom and Wendy have said, it's strategically located in a good spot to help tie things together, be they animal movements or people movement. And it has high conservation attributes. It's something we've been working on for a long time. And you can only work a deal when when a seller is at the point of selling. 10 years ago, Mr. Nelson was not at that point. I believe he inherited this property from his aunt, from the Wood family, who was from the Page family. This is a piece that ties back to names like Page's Corner, Wood family name in town. These are sort of foundational members of the town fabric and the town history, so I would love to see this legacy preserved. I would love to be able to say to Nelson Barden, who is an old man now, that some of the memories from his childhood can be, if not preserved, the land can be available for other youngsters to explore and come to know and appreciate. I've been in town long enough to appreciate a lot about this town, and nobody's perfect, no land is perfect, no town is perfect, but Ware's a special place. And I think it's just that bit more special if we can step up here and complete this deal. We're not looking to raise funds for this. The funds are dedicated for this purpose. The town has spoken in formal and informal ways in support from the town forum years ago as to what type of town people enjoy living in. This contributes to it. And I'll say again, year after year, the warrant article that's required for expending from the town forest account faces the voters of Ware, faces those who go to the poll. And year after year after year, it's about 2/3 of this town is in favor. And I understand some are not in favor, but very few things get passed with 2/3 support. And I think it would be a great attribute, a great position to say, we've heard you, this is what we want you doing, and thanks for bringing it to our attention, and we approve, let's go forward. If there are things we need to do differently next time, let's talk about them. Be it exchange of information in a best and most timely fashion, be it discussions beforehand. It's something important to the role of the Conservation Commission. It's something important to the legacy of a landowner, and hopefully the time is right and we can get the job done. Thank you for your time. I thank everybody for coming out tonight. Expressions of support. The audience, your patience. I know you weren't expecting to entertain the public, but it speaks well, Chairman Hippler, that you did agree to this, so thank you very much. And I'm available to answer questions, explain things, or just to tell me, what I could have done differently,
Okay.
what the commission could have done differently, if anything. So we're not left wondering why, but we understand, the principles behind a vote for or against. I think that's fair to the voters. That's fair to you guys and what you represent, what the Conservation Commission represents, and I think the public loves to see that. Not just a yes, no, but a, here's my concern. And I respect each one of yours voice. Don't have to agree all the time, but we do need to be cordial and respectful. And thank you for providing that opportunity tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy. So, anybody else comment?
I know I already spoke, I have just 1 minute to add on. It has to do with the cost of development. If each of these houses, say 15 houses, has one child go to school, average cost is like $12,000 a year. So over 12 years, the town's paying $144,000 to educate that child. 15 houses times 15, you're talking over $2 million in educational costs, and that's at one child per house. So, the town, as a development comes in, the town, yes, it's taxable property, but it's a loss.
Thanks, Tom. So I kind of want to clear up a couple things, just to set the record straight. The meeting and the vote that we've occurring tonight is not to purchase the land. There was a purchase and sale signed a month and a half ago, so that was put in place. The vote that is on the table is for the to waive the appraisal and the and at the time it was the survey that was asked of the title company. So that is the vote, is to waive the appraisal more so than the survey, because Andy was very diligent in the Conservation Commission to do a lot of homework, to do a lot of phone calls and to get information regarding this parcel. Probably a lot of late nights, sleepless nights to try and get all this stuff. Again, coming up with the assessments, to come up with a survey from 1972. You know, I think that the work that the Conservation Commission, the Fultons have done is very commendable. And thank you for that. Regardless of how this vote turns, thank you guys for that. And thank the rest of the Conservation Commission as well. So I think that just, I just want to just clear that up a little bit, but again, you know, large appreciation goes out for the work that you guys do. So, that being said, I turn John back on speakerphone. Put him in front of the microphone. I guess I'm going to poll the board. If the board has anything to say that was different than the other night, we'll start with Selectman Van.
No change.
Selectman Osborne.
No change.
No change from Selectman Osborne. I guess I just want to add in mine, John, we're going to shut you off on speakerphone. It's echoing pretty bad. You know, I think about it a little bit. My vote hasn't changed. Still, you know, my vote would still be in favor. Lived in this town my entire life. Traveled that road many times. I guess to the point of what Tom said, kind of, and what Andy said multiple times. It's a piece that I don't want to see go away and have a road stuffed up it. Myself, anyways, as one member of the board. You know, I mean, there's times that, yeah, I'm young. I'm 35. I know, probably one of the youngest ones in the room here. But I grew up in this town, and I've seen a lot of changes occur. With housing gone in, businesses gone in, and you know, sometimes take a minute to reflect back on what might be lost. Where I used to be out on my four-wheeler, probably illegally, but I was out there. That land's gone. It's been developed, or there's a house there. So, you know, I obviously nobody else can enjoy it the way that me and my friends did, and made great memories. So, not to say that I'm one to get out into conservation lands very often. I can tell you how many times I've been out on them, 0. But it's not something I want to lose. So, just kind of reflected back this whole time, you know, the last few days. But again, my vote hasn't changed. Selectman Burdick?
My vote hasn't changed either, and I think that the commission has brought the information that we needed forward to us, and I think we need, you know, to protect the property, open space. I mean, unless someone who wants to keep building this up and it looks like Goffstown, and you want to live in Goffstown, then probably ought to move south. I want to see the open space, and I want to see the area so you can go from a large parcel and walk through it, and I do go out and walk, so I think it's an important part of where to keep it open.
Yeah. Selectman Meany?
Well, is this a formal vote, or are we just polling at this point? Nobody's made a motion for a
Correct.
formal
It's
vote.
more of a poll than anything.
Mine hasn't changed until we go before a formal vote motion, and then I'll have my piece.
Okay. All right. Does anyone want to move it? I'll put John back on speakerphone. He might be delayed a little bit. John, can you hear me?
John, can you hear me?
Can now.
I hear you.
Okay. I'm going to put you a little closer to my mouth so you can hear me. There you go. And we can share a microphone. All right. Entertain a motion.
Well, I'll make the motion to waive the assessment and to move forward in purchasing this property.
I'll second it. Discussion.
My vote hinges on one thing from the thing. I know the assessment. I don't like the tactics that took place the other night. This has been going on for quite a few months. And then I didn't like the tactics of the commission that they had a notice saying that there was a question of the exact acreage and that the title company wanted a survey. And they knew it and didn't bring it forward. And to me, that's not exactly according to Hoyle. They want to be above board and transparent, which the town should be. That doesn't show that to me. Then to kind of get ramrodded that, you know, we're going to do this or else at the 11th hour, they've got till the 10th. And at times, the old saying goes, their crisis is not my emergency, or their emergency is not my crisis. The thing I'd like to see, before agreeing to purchase this land and going with this, and this is going to be on one of my contingents, is I don't want to see the land go away, but I want to see it used for more. Their own mission statement is to have it used. The commission says, right on their webpage, is to use this for assert that the conservation land areas are available to all Ware residents for respectful and courteous recreational use. And I know that they've been doing better with the snowmobile club, but that doesn't open it up to a lot of other people, and I understand the part of getting volunteers. But there are companies out there, too, that can help them do trails. They've never asked for volunteers to come forward with trails or put something out formally. Former Selectman Lawton has been in here many times, you know, at the podium demanding this. The only trail I know that somebody did voluntarily was the one up to Farron Pond that the Boy Scouts did. Nobody's gone after those people. I drove through, and part of this is I did my research, I've talked to realtors, I've looked at different lands. I happened to just come out of New Boston and come up Tucker Mill Road to Oak Hill, and I passed two pieces that the town's got that have got a gate on it, and it's town conservation land, and they've got a sign there, and they got a place to pull over, and they've got a place for people to go up, either mountain bike, hike, whatever. They don't allow four-wheelers, but, I mean, it's open up to some of the snowmobilers. And I understand the four-wheelers do have a negative impact on the ground. But doing it in conjunction with the snowmobile club, which they put trails in, and having some volunteers do it, I think that would be a big contingent for me to vote yes. That they have a plan in place, they don't. That they should have the plan, they're the ones that should direct this, not just have volunteers come in willy-nilly. If you go onto their page and say for links and trails, it's blank. It comes up with a DES face page. If it comes to the open space part here, for open space management, comes to a DES. It's no link found, and it goes to a DES face page. That doesn't set well. There's no plan in place or some guide, and I think that's very important. The other thing I want to see, a plan in place within 2 years that they do something, instead of having land that sits there for, I like to hunt, fish, hike, to go into a place like that where you can't even walk into it at some of it because it's almost impossible because of it hasn't been maintained. There's a lot of blow down and so forth. It's one of the biggest things. It's open up for hikers, hunters, fishermen, snowmobilers, you know, if the trails are put in correctly. And that's one of the things I'd like to see done. With this parcel also, there's a residence on it. I talked to a realtor who was very familiar with that particular residence, and he says, you're going to have, he's pretty sure there's asbestos as well as asphalt shingles may be asbestos, because it's been there so long. That this gets removed, and I want it in writing within 90 days, and that they have the permits upon the purchase of this land. The other thing I want to see is that if we purchase this land, that the town has right to any resources on that, and this is in writing, short of the timber harvest. And I think that's very important on this piece of land to us.
Question, when you say resources, what do you mean by that?
There's other resources on that land that would be very affordable to the town.
Such as?
You read the emails that came in, the SQs, basically it's gravel. I'll put it right there. Might as well put it right out there and be transparent. There's gravel. We're going to need gravel in this town, and we should be able to have it under their auspices to watch this to make sure we don't destroy. The town has it, not anybody else. It's not a working gravel pit, but it's for the town to harvest that gravel because we're going to need it. We're about out at East Street. And I think that's an important thing. And we should be able to harvest it, and they can reclaim it and put it back to a different site. And that's my contingent, and I want it in writing that they approve of it. If not, my vote is no.
How much time are you gonna be willing to give them to put it in writing? Obviously, they
They've
can't do
got till
that.
the 1st, because they've got to have it by the 10th to go to their closing and to the, for their public hearing. This has been dragged on since back in the summer. And at the last minute, we get this. And I think that's an important thing for the town.
Okay, so I guess let me ask,
And then they can come back in on the 1st. If they present it, then my vote will at that point, and we will vote, and I will vote yes. If not, then my vote is no.
okay. I guess let me, there was a lot of topics you discussed, Jack, on that.
Well, it goes to just
No.
the end.
I know, but there was a lot of topics that you hit. So I guess I would ask that you put those somehow in writing.
Well, I think it's on the record now.
It is on the record
Yeah,
now.
so, yeah, I can.
But just so that everybody's clear on what you would, your request.
Yeah. And I don't think that's unreasonable, given the circumstances.
No, I wouldn't think so either. But, due to Selectman Osborne being on phone, we're gonna do a roll call vote on this one. I can hear myself talking now.
Yeah, getting it over the
I
TV.
guess getting over the speaker and the TV, the delay. So with the motion made and seconded, there's been discussion. Selectman Van, roll call vote.
No.
Selectman Osborne, roll call vote.
No.
Chairman Hippler, roll call vote, yes. Selectman Burdick, roll call vote.
Yes.
Roll call vote, Vice Chairman Meany.
Still abstain until I get the paper.
Okay. So we're still in lockstep.
November 1st is our next meeting, so.
November 1st, our next meeting. And I guess we can, with your requests that have been made, we can reevaluate at the meeting on November 1st. Until then, nothing has changed since Monday. That's the way I feel. Any board members like to speak? Any further? John, you all set?
I'm all set.
Okay. Turn him back off so I don't hear myself. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.